What if we wanted to have a regular, ordinary man on the street, and what we need is a hero? What if we could turn that guy into that guy? Da, 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 da. So I want to just show you a couple of things we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is get into Illustrator of all places. I'm in Photoshop now, as you can see, but I'm going to go back to Illustrator and set up those glowing triangles. So I'm just going to draw quickly with my arrow or my pen tool. I'm just going to draw a quick triangle there. Grab that shape, turn off the stroke. I don't want to have a stroke on that thing. I do want to have a gradient. And my gradient says, okay, you can put that in there, this shape here. I'm putting the gradient in the stroke. Don't do that. Put the gradient in the fill. Thank you. And we'll put that into there. And then what I can do is double click the black one here and say I really want that to be orange or maybe red or some other color like that, something hot. And then the other thing I get to do, okay, hit return. The other thing I can do here is choose the angle. You can notice I've got a whole bunch of different possibilities here. I want something that's about in line with that 135, maybe 138 will be closer. Look at that, right on the dot. Wow, how great. So now I've got one of those shapes that I want. I'm going to grab my rotate tool right there, and then somewhere in the middle of this, I'm going to hold down my Option key, Alt on a PC, and click right in the center. I'm going to rotate it 20 degrees, a number that will fit into 360 evenly, and I'm going to hit copy. Now I've got two. Command D, Control D on a PC gives me a chance to duplicate that. Do that again. Now I'm going to select all of these guys, copy them, and then go back to our friend Photoshop. New document here, and Photoshop says, you'll notice there's something in my back pocket. If it's not too forward of me, would it be okay if I make a new document the size of the thing that you've got in your back pocket? Sure, go for it. So it gives me that. I paste my document. It says, how do you want to paste it? I'm going to paste it as pixels. Poof, there's that. I'm just going to blow that up so that it runs off the edge. As you know, I don't need to hold down Shift to maintain proportions in Photoshop. I do in Illustrator, just to make you cuckoo. That's why they did that. So now I've got my glowing thing there. I've also got a background layer here. I'm going to deselect the lock there on the background layer, and I'm going to get into the gradient that I've got here in Photoshop. My gradient right now is up here in the top corner. I've got the option of making a linear gradient. I'm going to make a radial gradient, not a gradial radiant. And I'm going to put that in there. It's going to go from my foreground color white to my background color blue. So if I click here and say from this color to out to that color, zoom, it says no problem, I can do that. Maybe I'll make it a little bit softer than that. It's not quite so flaming. So, but it's pretty great, eh? So now what I've got is a couple of spots set up there where I can get a really nice gradient running in the background between those two things. Now what I want to do is come back to our ordinary man on the street here. I'm going to do a couple of the things first. I'm going to switch to grayscale. Are you sure you want to throw away the color? Yes, I am. And then what I want to do is switch to duotone. Whoopee cushion, I don't want that. Mode, duotone. And it says you want to click duotone right there instead of monotone. And mine happens to be already set up, but I'm going to change this color. I'm in the Pantone color window, or ANPA color actually. I mean, I can also pick Pantone colors. And, choose a color that I kind of like and think, oh, that'll be kind of fun. I can also use the picker here if I'd rather just use those. I have to name those colors if I do that. So let's go, I'm going to go back to my color libraries, back to Pantone, and say I want that color. And then maybe I want a really dark color down here for this one, maybe like a reflex blue or something like that, something kind of hot. So let me see if I can't find something, a fairly dark color. I'm having a hard time finding a dark blue. There we go, there's a good one right there. So now I've got a couple of good colors there. You notice what happens. Basically, this curve is saying don't do anything with that pinkish color until you get to about 50%, and then wham, fly it up to the top. This curve, on the other hand, says I want solid blue at the very beginning in the brightest colors. There's the white colors, and then nothing in the middle, and then pop at the end. So that's how those two curves are set up. And you can see what happens when you change those and say, I actually don't want any blue in the top. All the white stuff turns back to white. So that's why that's turning blue like that. And I can make that even more So even the stuff that's here, in fact, we could probably get Jack's face to turn blue if we start doing that. So basically what you're doing is saying take the lightest parts and treat them this way with this particular curve. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how that looks now. What I want to do now is say hokey dokey, and then what I'm going to do with my select is I'm going to select my subject. This is still locked, so it's not very happy about that. But if I go layer, or sorry, select, oops, still not going to let me do that because it's not a mode that it can do that with. I'm still in duotone. Switch that back to RGB color. Now it's a red, green, blue image, and now my selection says, what would you like to do? Select the subject of this image. And it will grab him. It'll also grab his coat. As you saw from the other one, we don't want his coat. So I'm just going to use my lasso tool here, and I'll show you how you get rid of the rest of it. My lasso tool will let me select or add to my or subtract from my selection. Right now I've got him and his coat. I don't want his coat. So I'm holding down the option key to deselect. I'm going to run around here, get his chinny chin chin, but not his neck and his coat. Right like that. And now what I've got to do is go around the rest of this to say all of this I don't want. I'm subtracting the coat, all of that from that selection. I might feather that a little bit, control click to get feather, or go to select modify 5 pixels. Sure, copy that, come back to our page here that we've got, paste that in there, and then command T gives me the free transform tool, and I can shrinkify his head. I can shrink him, squeezing your head until it's just about the right size. Whoa, that looks pretty cool. As you can see, it's underneath the layer that we have that we already created. So I'm just going to drag that layer up to the top so he's on top. And then I might just, because it's fun, put a little outer glow on him. That color, soft light, and look how handsome we have our hero. Hope that was helpful for you. I will talk to you all later. Yay!